All right, so I just saw Wicked Part 1 as it is on IMDb. Of course, it was not marketed that way. It's just called Wicked on the poster. But yeah, I mean, Wicked, the quick plot summary. It's essentially an origin story of the Wicked Witch. This is based on a book that was based on another book that was one of the original Wizard of Oz books back in the early 1900s. So that's kind of the basic premise of this one. And it's interesting. So I'm not someone who has any experience with the musical Wicked. I've never seen it, never listened to the music, and I don't really watch I haven't watched The Wizard of Oz in a while either. I remember liking it as a kid. I think I've watched it as like a teenager as well, but I've not seen that recently either. I should give it a rewatch. Maybe before part 2, I will. But essentially, I went into Wicked completely blind, and I would say I have mixed feelings on this movie. Again, I'm someone who enjoys a good musical. I am not a musical buff by any means, but I've been to a few musicals. I enjoy some musical movies when they're there. I'm also not someone who is I would not consider myself a huge musical fan either, though. I do have to say, the music here I thought really worked. While they kind of broke up the songs, I thought a bit too much for my liking personally. I really enjoyed the music and specific songs, the ones that you're hearing, people talking about, they're all very good. The music works, and I think that the strength of this movie, probably more than anything, is the relationship between the two leads here, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande, who I thought was fantastic in this movie, a lot of good acting in this movie. I thought she was the standout in my opinion, and the I would say more nuanced friendship that these two characters have, I thought was very fascinating to me, and I really enjoyed it. This film does have some real moments of heart. I think those moments also very much worked for me. Unfortunately, while I see that this one's getting rave reviews everywhere, I am not quite on that level. I think my biggest critique of this movie is the pacing. So the original, again, I've never seen the musical, but I know that it runs for 2 hours and 45 minutes. It is essentially the same length as this entire movie. And while, I talked to my fiance who has seen the original musical, and she said that this one kind of helped pad certain character motivations and actually did do a good job adding certain things. It's still, in my opinion, felt very stretched out. The reality is, again, this is just how I viewed it, is that I felt like a lot of times this movie was taking 6 minutes to get us to 3 minutes worth of what we needed. I think it took 6 minutes to tell us 3 minutes, and also just because it's a part 1, you get some weird story stuff, right? I mean, the fact that there is a sort of hey, we're into Emerald City, isn't this fun thing happening towards the end of the movie? That's not something that you typically would get if you're watching it at the, if it's all a contained story. That's something that would happen kind of, maybe I don't know, a third of the way into the movie. There was a point where I don't want to get too spoilery here. I don't spoil things until the end of the video when I give a spoiler warning ahead of time and then get into spoilers. But before spoilers, I won't say it. But again, there is a moment when we see the two leads sort of start to develop a friendship, and it's like an hour and a half into the movie. In my opinion, it felt like it should be something happening like 25 minutes into the movie. Again, it's a part 1. This is not one movie. This is part 1 of a probably like a 5-hour movie, right? So that's kind of the way to look at it. But I don't always love 5-hour movies. I think I would have preferred a 2.5-hour movie. Totally subjective. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments below. But that's just kind of how I viewed it. And again, the part 1 thing, I had the same issues with like Dune part 1. It didn't fully work with me for similar reasons. But I do think that in this movie, I would have liked it more had it just not felt stretched out, in my opinion. And I think that there were a lot of scenes that I just don't think this film needed, quite frankly. And so while there was a lot of good, sometimes I felt like I was waiting for the good moments to happen. And then once the good moments happened, they were really good. Like, I think there was a lot of good stuff here. We gotta talk about the overall look of this movie. I've seen a lot of discourse. I haven't paid much attention to it. I have seen a lot of it. I thought some of these sets were awesome, and there were some actual sets that looked great, and some, I think, good CGI in this as well. The animal CGI was really good. Yeah, I mean, a lot of parts of this movie looked very good. I really like there's a library scene that I thought was awesome, where it's like it's sort of a spinning library kind of bookshelf thing, and they're kind of walking around in it. I thought that was super cool and fun, and really creative. Like there was a handful of things that I thought were very good. Not every shot works. It just doesn't. There is some CGI that just looks kind of like green screen CGI. There just is. It is what it is. You can't make this movie entirely practical. You can't, as much as we would like it. Sometimes we all prefer practical effects, right? But it just you weren't gonna be able to make a movie like this without some CGI. This movie, not all of it worked, but it was fine. I think that 90% of this movie looked good. It had some bad shots that I'm sure someone will post on Twitter and say it stinks, but like for the most part, no. This was a totally, I think, really a good looking movie. I thought for a good chunk of it. Not every shot worked though. That's 100% fair. Should you see Wicked? Well, it depends on who you are, right? This is very much I think you know who you are kind of movie, and if you are that person, like, then you should watch it. If you're not that person, then you shouldn't watch it. If you're someone who's into musicals, yeah, check it out. You're gonna have a good time. There are some Easter eggs, like a certain cameo, which I will not spoil. That I'm sure you'll have a good time with. There's some fun stuff in there, and again, the music is very well performed, I thought. So, it's again, I haven't really listened to the old music, so I can't compare it, but I thought it worked very well in this. It's definitely one to check out. Very fun, very full of life. If you are someone who hates musicals, this one's not going to be the one to change your mind. I don't think. If you look at this and say, yeah, that's not my thing, don't check it out. And if you're someone who's kind of like me, more on the fence, looks at it and says, hey, this could maybe be my thing. I'm into the Oscar movies. I tend to watch every Best Picture nominee, and this one is probably going to get nominated. So, sure, I'll check it out. Yeah, I think you'll probably have a similar experience to me, which is finding some good things in it, but maybe not being enthralled through the entire 2 hours and 40-minute runtime. I can get more into it, but I think you kind of get my main critiques and my main praises of this movie. Very well done. Very good job by the film. I just think for me personally, the cynical part of me wants to say that they just break it up into two parts so they can get twice as much money with making it two movies. If that's not the case, I think it was again, we can sit here and say, well, it's a part one, get over it. But, like, it's a decision that was made to make it a part one. And again, it's not really the part one part that bothers me so much. It's more so the fact that I felt like this was half of a movie stretched out into a full movie's runtime. That was my experience with the movie. But, yeah, so unfortunately not one I was particularly crazy about. It's a 5 out of 10 for me, which, again, for my grading system, it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. Usually means it's an enjoyable film that I'm probably not going to think about again. So that's kind of how my grading scale works. That's kind of where I'm at with this movie. But yeah, I don't think I need to get into spoilers here. I will say just the final end sequence I thought was very good. Very fun stuff there. So yeah, won't. That's all I'll say. Won't get into spoilers. I think we can just end it here. I don't think I have anything I needed to talk about in spoilers. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Wicked Part 1/Wicked, whatever you want to call it. Let me know your thoughts on this movie in the comments below. Do you disagree? I have a feeling, again, this is a movie that's getting a lot of praise. So there are people who love this movie, and I say cool, just maybe not my thing is probably what the category it goes into. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.